Hey, Vinny Milkus Outdoors. I'm kind of in a different camera, so it's not as good as quality. Um, hey, one of the reasons I haven't been out fishing, to be totally honest, is gasoline prices are insane. So I've been kind of, muddling around, and the weather hasn't been that great. So I've been muddling around trying to figure out because it's getting to that point of the time of the year where you will start having some fish pushing up, and that has to do with increased days, increased sun exposure. Um, Also, just general time of year. But I believe it's the increase in sun exposure and days because you have that radiation that kind of goes in there. So you have it kind of signals the fish and elevated water temperatures as the water temperature starts slowly climbing. Starts telling the fish, hey, we're going to start moving up. Get prepared to do the deed of spawning. And there's a reason why there's one predominant color, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other people have talked about it, but that's your reds and oranges that are prevalent in the springtime, right? So I've been muddling around and I've been like making my own lures and stuff. In fact, I wanted to sell these at one time, but now I'm just making them for myself. But I actually made this, and it's not the highest quality in the world, but I did a pretty good job, I think. Besides the fact that this one actually has a little, from my paint job, a little nub on it. But this is a you can't might not be able to tell with this camera, but it's a kind of a fire tiger color with a little bit of pumpkin in it. And then I stained the blade for this. This is obviously a chatterbait. I stained the blade real reddish orange, and then I paired that with a Zaco Yamamoto, and this one is in, what do they call this? The watermelon copper orange, which is just like perfect. It along the lines, just an awesome bait. So I did that in a couple different sizes. I got 3/8. I got a half ounce, and this is going to be killer. This is the kind of baits people are talking about all the time for the spring. They win a lot of tournaments, particularly in that color. If you remember last year, the jackhammer in that color was just sold out. Well, granted, a lot of things are sold out, but in particular, that bait was sold out for a reason. I mean, it was highly sought after, and a lot of people talked about it. But I've seen a lot of guys that were doing pretty darn well in tournaments that had that tied on at the very least. So, I mean, that cat's out of the bag. But if you remember, I have a video, and I might be able to link it in here about color, weight, why, what bass see at different depths and whatnot. And there is a reason red, and this is just my opinion, I'm speculating, or a little bit of speculation, some of the scientific. Reds and oranges are seen uh, very well in fish in shallow water. And as you have all these fish that are pulling up after deep water, they seem not to be as pressured. Granted, with all the technology now, who knows? But they push up, and then they haven't seen this type of bait in a while. And plus, they can really see it because of the color. They can see reds and orange in super shallow water, or within 15 feet and above, they can see it really well. I believe that is. It might be 10. I can't remember where it diffuses through the water column, but it's in my video, in the other video. So they can really see this bait very well and make it out. And plus the movement of this chatterbait, and like a one of those square bills or flat sided square bill, they see that movement. And me, I'm a big proponent of movement and profile. You couple that together at certain times of the year, you find the right movement and profile. It can really that's what triggers fish. I mean, colors add to the profile, in my opinion, especially if you look underwater and how those colors are diffused throughout the water column. But anyway, so number one bait coming up here, I'd say late February, March in a lot of the country. March when things start really pushing up. As you go further north, obviously it's April or whatever. But the chatterbait, reds, orange, jigs, reds, orange, reds and oranges, and flat-sided crankbaits, and even jerkbaits. I know we do a lot of shad profile jerkbaits, but those reds and the oranges and jerkbaits, like the clown color, that's a good one. That's a good clown. You got that red, but you get a whole like a red back. You can get more natural, but those seem to work really well. And then also that in lipless crankbaits. I'm surprised I haven't even mentioned that because that's one of my favorite baits is a blade bait or lipless crankbait. Other thing, so I did a little bit on the gilly last time, and one of the things I wanted to talk about on that, the gilly, like I said, I'm going to be flipping that around a lot of brush. And then when I'm punching, I'm going to probably use it to punch some grass, but mainly the brush flipping and tree flipping. I really want to do that. And but I'm gonna give you something on that. So here I got these. These are my finesse heavy cover, and it's a 2/0. I'd go maybe 3/0. It seems when you're doing the gilly, if you want to get on that, you want to hit in the meat, because if you go too far back on this thing, you're in this like segmented area on the bait. So you want that hook to be in there, in the meat. So the 2/0 and the 3/0 seem to be really well on that. And I use this finesse one, and this is the reason I was bringing that. I use a finesse one, a finesse hook, or finesse flipping hook, or whatnot. I use that in the trees, and I'll tell you why I do that. One, I just like, the finesse stuff, but when you're not necessarily ripping them out of the trees and bushes. A lot of times they'll get wrapped around in there. You want that steady pressure, so you're not really too concerned with the hook, bending. You want to pressure in, because that line is going to put tension. It's going to naturally, once they start going with it, they'll pull up over those limbs or whatnot and get out. Now, when you go to the weeds, when you go to like the grasses and whatnot, then I want to go to that heavy hook. Reason being is because they get matted up in there. You can't necessarily pull them up over or pull them through the weeds. They tend to clump up, and with the finesse hook you could actually bend that one out if you have a big enough fish. That, and then I like the other thing is, of course, you use a peg or whatever, but I got these blacked, or I do this with color, browns and blacks, whatever color gilly I have. A punch weight. This is a 1 ounce, or worm weight, something that looks slick on there. The worm weight for these pumpkin ones, I got the black. And what I want to do on that with the, so I got a couple ways of rigging that, and I should have pulled it up, but obviously you just peg it to go into the heavy cover. I went out, but if you want to do the same thing through rocks, so this is what I thought through, rocks. So you peg it up further so that as that bait kind of glides down, right, it kind of hovers over the rocks. And that's just my other thoughts on the gilly. I don't know why I'm talking about it pretty loosely, but I'm really excited about that bait. But anyway, I just did this video because I haven't done one in a week. I want to talk about the things that are upcoming, spring. I'm obviously, I didn't go to the Arizona Open, mainly because of the gas prices and everything, but they only had 120 boats, which I have a feeling is more of economic, and I think Billy alluded to that, because that's an awesome tournament. It's my favorite tournament to go to, actually, even over the U.S. Open. I love that Arizona, because I just love Lake Havasu this time of year. Beautiful weather, big largemouth, big smallmouth. You can do flipping cattails, flipping weeds, fishing cages, fishing rock, fishing docks in certain instances. Awesome lake. Awesome. And like I said, the scenery's there, the weather's beautiful. The whole town's built around this lake. But they didn't have in my opinion, wasn't a good showing based on the last few years. But 120 boats, nothing to sniff at. Still an awesome organization tournament, but I think it was mainly gas prices that really held them. I think Joe Uribe Jr. won it, which he's been pretty damn solid on that lake the last few years, and he's a heck of a fisherman, so more power to him. Congratulations on that. They're going to go to Mojave, which is another awesome lake, one of the only lakes in Arizona, that region, I've never been to, but I've always just heard these amazing stories. And I don't know how many boats they'll draw. I'm sure they'll have quite a few, or at least 100. But that tournament circuit, WON Bass has been drawn on the Arizona Open, the Clear Lake, 160 plus boats, 180. And I think they pushed 200 last year on the Clear Lake. But with the fuel prices, that's going to hamper a lot of guys going out there. And it's hampering a lot of guys in the other areas of the country, I know, traveling to go to tournaments. So it's becoming more localized. But it also changes that profit loss statement a little bit, because now your costs are going up significantly. For me, that would increase my cost by like some 30-something%. Plus, you take hotel and different prices of food and whatnot is going up. I mean, looking at it, if I would have gone in there 121, I'd had to place in the top. I don't know. It looked like when I looked at it, I know it for sure was top 10 to even break even. So it was untenable, even though how fun it is. So like I said, I've kind of transitioned more where I'm going to do this and film than the tournaments, because until it becomes more advantageous for you to even just cash a check and make a little money, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, you can do better locally than you can run in these national tournaments. I'm going to still try to do the U.S. Open, because that's always that's a blast, a lot of notoriety. And if you do win that thing, like I was swinging for the fences last year, if you swing for the fence and you knock out of the park on that area and that tournament, you're up almost a couple $100,000. And I don't think unless gas prices really go up this year even more, I don't think it will affect that tournament as much. You'll get close to 200 boats at least there. But anyway, I'm gonna keep this one short. Like, subscribe. We're growing. I appreciate everybody that has supported me on this channel, and hopefully I can get to the point where this, kind of at least pays for the channel itself, and we can do a lot more fishing stuff and hunting, and camping too. Man, I'm gonna be out there planning some camping trips and just some overall outdoor activities. But anyway, peace. Talk to you later.